started off last night. I know Jacoby was tied to his TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, the second game is where we'll start. The second game is where we'll start because I, like many others, expected the Lakers to run through the Western Conference and then face the Nets in the title. That'll be great for the ratings. And they started 0-6 in the preseason. Not concerned. It's just the preseason. Now officially concerned. Officially concerned.
Oh, wait a second. I have never heard a preseason record dropped before, like ever, going into the regular season.
Yeah, that's
so
actually
there's no reason
surprising.
to be concerned about 0-6 in the preseason. But Russell Westbrook, not a great game. 8 points, 5 rebounds, I believe 4 assists in there. 5 of 13 was shooting. And look, I think we all know that's the big question mark here. Like, just because LeBron James says, don't worry, we'll make it work, you're going to have to worry because it might not work as well as you thought. Like, look, I think everybody goes back to the Dwayne Wade, LeBron James pairing, right? Where early on, they were great enough to make it work, but they weren't compatible. Like, they didn't seem like they had a whole lot of chemistry there. It was a whole lot of your turn, my turn stuff. And that was with Dwayne Wade's team, right? LeBron James was coming onto it. This is LeBron James's team, and this is Russell Westbrook joining, and he, in terms of fit, seems like less of a fit, even more so than, or less so than Dwayne Wade was. So yeah, there's always going to be these question marks, but I do love that both AD and LeBron James just told them after the game to relax because this is going to be like a season-long thing. Hey guys.
I feel like I like to tie everything in sports to life. And so when I watch Russell Westbrook on the floor, it kind of reminds me of like everybody was really excited about this. Like, you know how like when you have really good friends and you've never hung out with like all three.
No, I actually don't.
I know that you guys know nothing about having friends, but I'll tell you what it's like to have friends. So like, you know how when you have a good friend and then the friend has another good friend, but you guys have never hung out together, right? Like, so this is the first time that you guys are all going to hang out together and you realize that like it's just not clicking how you thought it was. Like, you're not as funny as you thought you were. Like, your friend likes the other person a little bit more. So you don't really know where you fit in. So things are awkward. Like, that's kind of how Russell Westbrook looked. Like, he just looked awkward. Like, he didn't know exactly how to fit in. And I feel like that's the vibe that's happening in LA. The fact that LeBron after the game was like, go home and like give your wife a kiss and like hug your kids. Like, it's almost as if he's like, hey, like, don't pay attention to what's going on over here. Like, just go, like, there's bigger things outside of what's going on the basketball court. It's just kind of weird. And so I feel like it's not clicking. It's just not going to click.
So
it's not going to. So you've already determined.
Oh yeah,
I'm determined.
One game into the season, they're already determined. I like this. Now,
you said 0-6 preseason. I mean,
listen, they put this up here because it was interesting that there were only LeBron and AD. LeBron and AD played great, by the way. Like, this, no one's talking about that. LeBron and AD looked amazing, and AD is probably the one constant, the one variable in this equation that needs to swing this season. But he doesn't really fit Russell Westbrook. So do what they did in Houston. Eventually, you end up staggering LeBron and Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook was off the ball last night. They played Russell Westbrook and Rondo at the same time. That's just not a recipe for success. You stagger LeBron and Westbrook, make Westbrook a primary ball handler, and let him just be that freight train going towards the basket. Boy, he's getting like catch and shoot threes. That's just not what he's good at. He didn't get many assists. I think they really need to make him a on-ball offensive player when LeBron James is on the bench, which I'm sure we'll see a lot this year.
Well, wait a second. So let's play that out then. Like, so you're saying have LeBron sit in the corner and play off the ball most of the time with Russ as the primary ball handler. Like, is that something that anybody on that team is going to be okay with?
No, that is not what I'm saying. LeBron James should always have the ball forever, okay? There's nobody else better with the ball in their hands than LeBron James. I was just surprised how in sync they were minutes-wise. Because LeBron isn't going to play as much as he used to when he was younger. So when LeBron is on the bench, then you give the ball to Russell Westbrook, and you can run plays for Westbrook a little bit more. LeBron is the best at distributing the ball. I think he's going to get Westbrook more involved. I'm not concerned.
That was pretty interesting, the minutes distribution, right? Because those, I think it was 4 guys, with Kent Bazemore, the other one, playing 30-plus minutes. And you look at that bench, and you're trying to figure out who's going to contribute. But, Dwight Howard, Malik Monk, a couple of minutes, sprinkled here and there. It felt like it was almost too many guys. And maybe early on, Frank Vogel's trying to feel things out.
I think, but the question is, are we overreacting to Russell Westbrook, like, in this game one? Like, is it an overreaction to say, oh my gosh, Russell Westbrook this is not going to work out. And I feel like it's not an overreaction. It's just not looking like it's going to work out well in LA.
By the way, guys, you don't know this, and I'm just going to tell you for the first time. I can't actually see you right now. All I'm seeing is Jeremy Fowler of ESPN right in front of me. So I hear you, and I feel you, but I can't see you. So just know that everything's okay on my end if I don't react to anything visually. But look, I do think that Russell Westbrook can find his way. Like, the idea of whether he's handling the ball or not, I think is going to be the biggest question mark for him. Like, he's never been the guy that really has to perform off the ball. But don't you think he has the ability to? Like, I look at Dwayne Wade, his ability to play off the ball with LeBron, or even in the Olympics, if you remember, like leading scorer on that team, I believe, in 2008, but largely playing off the ball. I see Westbrook as having that ability. He still has that athleticism. He still pretty much knows the game. I'm not sure if he's been able to try and play that way, especially since he and Kevin Durant broke up in OKC. Doesn't feel like that's something that's too much to ask.
No, and they even gave us indicators like a couple of weeks ago. They're saying, look, it's going to take some time for this to work out. And me, being dumb, I was like, what do you need to work out? You've got 3 extremely talented basketball players. Just put them on the floor and roll the ball out. But after the preseason games and after the game last night, it does seem like there is going to be some X's and O's work, some minutes staggering, and some real sort of coaching and intelligence are going to have to make this work. If there's anyone that can make it work, it is LeBron James. I believe in LeBron James.
I feel like they had
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I feel like they had an entire preseason and offseason to kind of figure it out. So the fact that it looked so awkward going into game 1 already, and we're like, hey, is this going to work out? I feel like, yes, it is LeBron James, and we know who he is and that he can figure things out. But the fact that it looked so awkward on game 1 is a cause for concern for me.
Go ahead, producer.
Okay. So does anyone not actually think they're the best team in the West?
They're the best.
Like, I picked, I like them coming out of the West. I still think they're going to figure things out. I think they'll move some pieces if necessary to try to make it a better fit. But, like, you look at the other teams out there, the Jazz, the number 1 seed last year, do you think they're going to figure it out or make that leap in the postseason? I don't know. But the regular season, they've proven they can do that. Phoenix should be better, you would think, a year later. And this team having so much to figure out. Heck, I keep pointing back to that, Miami Heat team. But they started out like 1 game over 500 for the first, 17 games. They were 9-8 there. So this is probably going to look a little janky for a little bit. But the part that's especially disappointing is AD and LeBron had big games, 33 and 34 with 11 rebounds. LeBron shooting, at least early on, looked great, and you should be able to win with that anyway.
Right.
You shouldn't need more from Russell Westbrook.
One more thing. Tim Legler went on First Take today and postulated that Russell Westbrook should come off the bench. He should be the 6th man, to Jacoby's point, and stagger the minutes. What do you guys think? Is that the best case scenario for the Lakers?
I love when Legs comes off the top rope like that, and I actually definitely agree with him. Like, it's not something that's going to happen. It's not even something that I would say LeBron would suggest to his team that they do. He'd rather make it work with Russ as a starter. But, man, that's the better idea. Like, just let him go and go wild off the bench for those. And then you don't even have to play LeBron 35, 37 minutes. You probably drop it down to 33, 34. Make sure Russ is on the floor those other minutes when he's not there. And that way they're not on the bench or not on the floor as often together, like Jacoby mentioned.
But they started
DeAndre
Jordan. Like, that's what I was surprised. Like, wait, Bazemore is starting?
Weird
DeAndre Jordan
right.
starting? They do this thing with Anthony Davis where they're like, don't worry, you're not the center. You're totally not the center, but he is the center because they start DeAndre Jordan and then take him out after like 10 minutes, and then he doesn't play for the rest of the game.
Could you imagine Russell Westbrook coming up, like going out to LA and then being like, okay, go sit down and like, we'll figure out what we're going to do with you later in the game. I just can't imagine like Russell Westbrook, the human being, coming off the bench and being like totally okay with that.
Carmelo Anthony laughed at it at a point where he was just a scorer and wasn't coming off of averaging triple doubles every season for like 4 years and wasn't, doesn't have an MVP in his back pocket. Like, I don't know if you could ask him to come off the bench. Like, I think he would rather play for the Clippers.
Right.
Than come off the bench for the Lakers.
Exactly.
I'm not overreacting to this. Russell Westbrook, the same Russell Westbrook with the Wizards last year, went on that magical run at the end of the season. Didn't work out the way he wanted to, but like he still is the same human being, and they will figure this out. The brains of Vogel and LeBron will make this all work.
Well, speaking of which, on a slight tangent here, the other team that was playing last night against the Lakers was Golden State, and I thought that they were sort of getting too much credit, right? I thought that people were talking about them. Oh, can they come out of the East? Is it between them and the Lakers? I'm like, why? Just because Klay's coming back at some point? Like, we don't know what this team's going to look like exactly. And even if he does, like, do we believe that that trio is all of a sudden going to be 73-9 type of trio again? I don't know. But then Steph comes out and has a, less than average shooting night and still has a triple-double, and they come back in the fourth quarter and beat them. So I'm starting to wonder if that makeup of that team might be a little better than I thought it was.
It's an interesting point because we talk about the 2 scores in double figures for the Lakers. I didn't expect the Warriors to have 6. You're like, Bialiga, and like, huh? Like Lee, like Wiggins. It's just like Steph did not play well. It's kind of the inverse of what happened with the Lakers. The Lakers stars showed up and played well, aside from Westbrook. But with the Warriors, it looked much more like a deeper team, which I expected the Lakers to be.
I feel like the fact that Steph Curry can play so bad and the team can still get a dub means that, like what you said, Izzy, like, we do not know as much as we thought we knew about this Warriors team. Like, this team is actually pretty good. They don't even have Klay Thompson. Like, I feel like I'm one of those people that's like all about nostalgia. Like, I don't want the Lakers to come out of the West. Like, I would love for the Warriors to have like a comeback season. And the fact that the Warriors played so well in this game, like, I'm a huge Jordan Poole stan also. Like, I feel like this Warriors team can actually make things happen in the West that we didn't expect for them to be able to make happen.
So you chose the Warriors over the Lakers for the nostalgia team, even though the Lakers have so much more history. And then you dropped a Jordan Poole on us, which nobody has ever dropped before. Like, you should definitely just hang on to that. You are the number one Jordan Poole fan for the rest of the time.
I go hard for the underdogs, okay? I go hard for the underdogs.
All right, I think once we hit the Jordan Poole, I think we need to change the topic.
Jordan Poole is great.
Okay.
I mean, no offense, he's a good player. He's gonna have a breakthrough, but
I stand.
Our next trending topic. The relationship between Zion Williamson and the Pelicans appears to be a bit murky right now. How much pressure is there on the Pelicans to win this year?
Wow. So I didn't think I'd be getting that pressure for the Pelicans to win this year because, like, what do you really expect? A coaching change, not exactly a full roster that you're scared of or anything else. But now, when you talk about the idea of Zion potentially not wanting to stick around, which is this concept that people are throwing out there, you see he's got the foot injury, seems to be a little bit overweight, like 300 plus pounds. And if you look at that old picture of him from 2019 when he was kind of shredded, like, not a good comparison here. Like, Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report said Zion was over 300 pounds this offseason, which I believe he was around 280 or so when he first checked in back in his rookie year. And, like, I understand, I'm not sure where people are going with this, right? Because Zion, with the foot injury, no timetable for his return, but, like, with a foot injury, you're not going to be able to be as active. You're not going to be able to keep the weight down. And I know, like, maybe people say, okay, well, he's got a dietary issue and maybe he needs to, okay, like, let's see these things play out for a little bit. Like, I think he is a walking injury. Like, I think he probably trains poorly, and obviously the eating does not help very much. And, I've talked to a couple people who can predict those types of things and see the way he walks and says, like, man, this guy's going to get hurt very often. So he probably needs to trim down some. But I think people just want to see the best Zion Williamson first before they can say, hey, this guy deserves to be able to go somewhere else. Am I wrong?
There's a lot going on here in New Orleans. And one thing about Zion Williamson, he's so fun to watch. The highlights are amazing. But he got hurt in high school. He got hurt in college. He got hurt his first year in the league. And now he didn't tell the team about the foot surgery. We heard about the foot surgery in the media like weeks after it happened. It was a secret foot surgery. And I'm going to give him a little pass on the weight because if I had foot surgery, I would probably balloon up to 300 pounds in about a month and a half anyway. And when he got drafted to New Orleans, I was like, the foot in New Orleans is not going to be good for keeping this guy trim. I mean, every time I go to New Orleans, I feel like I have to cleanse myself spiritually and physically for about a month afterwards. But this is a huge make-or-break pivotal year for him. There's the extension. There's the will he stay or will he go thing. He's a number one pick. When he came out in the draft, we're like, we don't really know who this guy is. He doesn't have a natural position, but he's such a great athlete. We'll figure it out. Well, it's been a few years, and it kind of seems like he doesn't have a natural position. It's not really figured out.
I feel like the question ultimately is, like, does Zion Williamson care to be the athlete that everybody expected him to be? Because he's an NBA player. He's Zion Williamson, right? Like he can do whatever, like he has a foot injury, yes, but like you can train, you can eat, you can do things for your body that make it the healthiest that it possibly can be in this moment. And I'm wondering if Zion Williamson actually cares to be the guy that we expected him to be in the NBA, because like I said, he has all these resources. If he's 300 plus right now, like that doesn't just happen. Yes, you're in New Orleans, but like you don't have to eat beignets every single day. It's not like people are throwing these down your throat. I wonder if like what Zion's goal specifically is as an NBA player, because if he really cared to be an elite athlete, if he really cared to win a championship, then it would be very obvious. And we wouldn't see him in a Mountain Dew commercial and being like, hey, why does he look so big right now? Like he would look a lot different.
The Mountain Dude commercial, because that dude is a mountain. Like, he is gigantic. Right. And I think you absolutely nailed it though, because that's what I'm wondering. It's very much a Shaq thing, right? When Shaq sort of was getting a little heavier, if you will, and you'd say you blame it on a toe injury, blame it whatever. People wondered, hey, you're Shaq. You should be the most dominant big man. Why don't you want to be in better shape? Maybe you don't want it as bad as everybody else does for you. And with Shaq, I think we got that answer, right? 2000 just dominated, won his championships. He really wanted it. With Zion, we don't know yet. Like, he, not only that, but he comes across as this lovable, big old teddy bear that everybody likes, and it's just like hard to imagine him just being angry and training every day and wanting it the way LeBron does, even though he's gotten there before. Like, you saw the pictures. He was this person in 19, and so we think he can get there again, but it seems like any sort of step back, any sort of setback, he's this guy again. He's 300 pounds, and he's just, happy-go-lucky, I'll just get there when I get there stuff. So I think we just need to see it over a long period of time here, and that's where I wonder why it's like, why are people saying he's going to want out, or it's like malcontent, or there's something going on with the organization. It's Zion that needs to get fixed first. I don't know if the relationship with the organization has much to do with any of this. Or it shouldn't. Anyway.
And the Pelicans, you see the over-under right there. I'm taking the under on that because the Pelicans have problems beyond Zion's availability. They just can't stop anybody from scoring. They cannot protect the rim. They brought in Valanciunas, who isn't necessarily a shot blocker. And it's just a tough fit for him because he cannot play center. He's just not tall enough to face some of the big centers in the NBA. Yet he's kind of best when he has the ball. Stan Van Gundy had people sort of not him as the screener, sort of him as the ball handler, getting screens set for him, which kind of worked. He's an odd point forward thing that hopefully Willie Green can unlock and make work if he's ever available. But Christine, I know I've heard you've got some inside information on this because Zion Williamson is actually your cousin, correct?
Yeah, we're related. Yes, that's why I want. I like to say no, he's not really my cousin, but I like to say that he's my cousin because we have the same last name, and people actually believe it on a regular basis. So I do pretend like I have some type of insight into like his mindset. But like, I think ultimately like the Pelicans have to figure out the Zion thing before they can figure out the any other thing. And I feel like Zion needs to figure out his thing before the Pelicans can figure out their thing. Because like if Zion doesn't want it, then nobody else can want it for him. And I feel like it starts with him and it starts with his desire. Like he's injured. Okay. He's injury prone. Okay. Like what can you do for your body to make it so that you do not have these injuries all the time? And there's a way to do that, right? Like he has all of the resources in the world. If he wants to figure it out, he can. And the Pelicans aren't going to figure out until Zion figures it out.
Can I tell you something though? Like this is just, I probably wouldn't say this on any other show, but like in terms of relatability, like I just wrecked my face the other day, like two weeks ago, right? And I have not been to a gym in 3 weeks. Like I have been eating like trash for like a couple of weeks now. You could probably even see it in my face. I don't know if it's everything to do with want to, or it could have just something to do with like a little bit of being bummed out. Like Zion is supposed to be this great, otherworldly, transcendent talent, and he just keeps getting hurt, and people keep calling him fat. And maybe he's just tired of that stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe he just is leaning in, or just like maybe a little bit of mental health issues going on there. Who knows? Like there could be a lot going on in his mind, and so I don't want to like pound the guy and say, hey, you should be in great shape because it's obvious, because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Again,
That's very true.
I will say it. If I had foot surgery, I would definitely go up to 300 pounds. Because if you can't run, you can't move. Like, I can relate. I can definitely relate.
Yeah. But here's my question on the Pelicans, though. Like, what does it mean for them to win? Because I don't think they have to win. Like, I think Zion has to have a good season. I think Brandon Ingram probably has to continue to be that, one of the top scorers in the league, right? But if the rest of that roster is not, finished off and they don't have a proper winning team, as long as Zion plays, I don't know, 70 to 75 games and his numbers are great and Brandon Ingram's numbers are great, they can be fine moving forward with this coach and go to next year feeling confident if they just make a couple of moves here. But the pressure to win, I don't think they have pressure to win. I literally just think they have pressure for Zion Williamson to play and look like the player that we expect him to be.
Imagine you're the Pelicans and you found out, you got a phone call and they're like, oh, by the way, hi, this is Zion. I just had foot surgery. That's just shocking to me. That's just not how things generally work. I think that there is a little hint of a rift there, and I'm not sure that the Pelicans and Zion are going to be together for long.
Does he have a call from an unknown number where he's like, hey, this is Zion?
By the way, I had foot surgery, just FYI.
All right. Yeah, right. Let's move on. Let's not beat up on Zion for any much longer.
All right, our final trending topic. Dabo Swinney said he won't be leaving Clemson for LSU, but should he?
Yeah, so Dabo Swinney was, and even when he was with Clemson, when he did take this head coach, was an assistant before he took the head coaching job at Clemson. So it feels like this should be his Death Valley and his only Death Valley. If I'm LSU, though, here's my question. We see Clemson this year, not very good, haven't scored more than, 19 points, I believe. And we know he can recruit. We know he can make the program that we thought Clemson was one of those teams that would always Clemson, right? They'd turn into a verb and they wouldn't be able to finish the deal. He turned them into one of the top tier programs. They're in the semifinals every year. Do you think that a guy like that benefits from changing locations? I don't. I think he needs to stay there, needs to sort of be what I wish Steve Spurrier would have done and never left Florida. I'm a Gator, if you haven't noticed. And so I don't think he should go. I think this is the place for him to be. I don't think he goes to LSU and has any sort of ability to not be good, right? If he has a type of season that he's having right now in his first two at LSU, there's going to be question marks all over the place. Right now, he's developed so much cachet and built up so much there at Clemson. I don't see him leaving to LSU. It almost feels lateral. Not quite, but almost.
Well, I have a saying, don't leave a good party in search of a great party. What he has going in Clemson is so good. Maybe not this year, but he is the face of that school. He is the face of this turnaround. He's the face of this success. Why try to leave and go somewhere else? And if I'm LSU, perhaps when Urban Meyer's done grinding out the season with the Jaguars, he might just fall into LSU's lap, So he might be available, and maybe I would hold out for something like that to happen.
That's what I feel like Urban Meyer should be at LSU. And then also when you think about LSU and Louisiana, that just doesn't go well with Dabo Swinney and his aesthetic. Dabo is a hardcore, very vocal, outspoken Christian man. And a lot of his players honestly fall into that same category. When you think about Trevor Lawrence, that was his whole thing. Football isn't my everything. I have my faith first. And that's Dabo's thing. He's in the Bible Belt. And I feel like Clemson just fits Dabo's aesthetic. It'd be so weird for him to go to Louisiana and take on this whole, take his aesthetic to, Louisiana. That's just not the same vibe. I feel like Dabo in South Carolina, he is a South Carolina, Clemson, South Carolina through and through. He just bleeds orange, and it just makes sense for him to be there. It would not make any sense for him to go to Louisiana.
It would be a money thing. It seems like, if you listen to Dabo, it seems like he's pretty happy. Obviously, won championships, what have you. Not a very big buyout there, so it would be easy for him. But I don't think it's something he would want. You guys got me, though, on this Urban Meyer thing. I can't get my mind off it. He's almost going to run the reverse Nick Saban, where he comes to the NFL for a year and then goes to LSU versus, Nick Saban went from LSU to the NFL to Alabama. That one, to me, if Urban leaves to go to LSU, can you believe anything? I can't believe I just changed the subject here, a little bit of a tangent. You can't believe anything that comes out of that man's mouth if he decides to go to LSU now. I think his whole family would just be like, you know what? We're going to take a pass too.
If you want to go down a really fun rabbit hole, just read some of the reports on what Ed Orgeron has been up to in his last days at LSU, and it is a wild ride. Go, Joe.
We had Larry Coker down here in Miami, who was everybody thought of him as the babysitter to the program after, and he won a championship or whatever, and it was just wow, and he lasted a few more years. Ed Orgeron isn't even lasting but a couple of years after winning a championship. That is unheard of.
Sad.
Having fun, though.
Weird.
Izzy, did you actually believe what Urban Meyer said before this scandal?
I mean, that's a great point. So I was a writer at the Miami Herald when he was the head coach at my alma mater at Florida. He was winning championships. I couldn't stand the dude. Like, I could not. There was a terrible vibe I got from him. I was just like, man, I would be much happier if these championships were coming with Steve Spurrier as the coach. But, everybody falls for Urban stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Urban would be fun in Louisiana. I also feel like Lane Kiffin would be another fun person to just throw at LSU because of the person that Lane Kiffin is. Like, I feel like after Ed Orgeron was there, after he's been there, he had such a huge personality and just like this whole like bigger than life thing. It's like, okay, are we trying to win championships? In my mind, I would rather just like have fun and just like throw another fun person at LSU and like see what can happen down there. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's another good move. Yeah, for sure.
By the way, Urban Meyer just beat my Dolphins this weekend, so he's just
how did that happen? How did that even happen? I have no idea. That was weird.
I got up early. I bought some croissants. I decided to watch it.
Multiple croissants? How many croissants did you get?
Well, I got a bunch. I had a couple people over, but I had like 4 or 5 just for me.
So that was an odd situation. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, Urban Meyer was probably going to be like the bane of my existence for the rest of time. But the Lane Kiffin one I like. He's already got the personality going in there, and he would create rivalries out of everybody, especially if obviously Nick Saban stays in Alabama. I like that one. That was a good call.
I feel like that's a good one.
I like chaos and I like drama, so put Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge. Let's go. Let's move on.
All right. What else are we talking about?
All right, guys, it's time to play a game.
Yeah.
And the game is Whodunnit.
Good music.
We'll give you a quote. You guys have a minute to come together and tell us whodunit. First quote. I really have just been watching 2 gorillas fight before every game. I've been addicted to that. I want to see who's the best in the laws of nature. I know if I'm in that video, I'm leaving out alive. Someone gotta die, and it ain't gonna be me. And your choices are A, Udonis Haslem, B, Jimmy Butler, C, Russell Westbrook, or D, Karl Anthony Towns.
These are all amazing choices. First of all, guys, anybody who believes they can beat a gorilla in a fight, they're not all here.
It's insane.
Like, there's something.
You're crazy.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate Udonis Haslem because I know him and I know he's not crazy. I don't think Russell Westbrook at the moment, right, is saying things like this.
Right now.
Given that he just had this. So it's between Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. And of those two, it feels like a Jimmy Butler quote.
Well,
it feels way more Jimmy Butler than it does Cat, for sure.
I'm a terrible actor, and I know who said this, but it is the least likely person of the 4. Let's just say that.
So it's D, Karl Anthony Towns, because that's definitely not a Jimmy Butler quote if it's least likely. All right, that's a consensus. We're going with D. Let's see it.
Me, I've really just been watching 2 gorillas fight before every game. I've been addicted to that. I want to see what's the best in the nature. I know at the end of the day, if I'm the gorilla in that video, I'm leaving out alive. Someone got to die. Ain't gonna be me.
Just I have so many follow-up questions.
Somebody's got to talk to Kat.
How many
What are your questions?
Gorilla fight videos are there on YouTube?
Yeah, that's a good
I can't
question.
imagine there's more than 3. Is he watching the same one over and over?
He
says he's
probably is.
addicted to it. He's addicted to watching gorillas fight. This is indicative of other problems in his life. And also, I want to see this after a big game. You score 40 and 20 and say before the game I watched 2 gorillas fight and that's what motivated me. But when you're Karl Anthony Towns and you haven't lived up to expectations, tell us after you succeeded how you got there.
I was just about to say, I love the fact that Jimmy Butler's on that list because he's got to be listening to that quote and saying, come on now.
Kat also seems to have he seems like a very happy, he smiles a lot. Even when he was saying that, he was smiling. He wasn't even saying it seriously. He's everybody's laughing about it. Nobody is taking it seriously. And I'm a hands person. He has very soft looking hands. I just feel I couldn't imagine him fighting a gorilla.
How do my hands look?
Do mine look soft?
Yeah, soft.
Izzy, you look like you have some pretty, like, tough hands because they're like
Wow.
the knuckles are like thicker. You have like thick knuckles, so you look like you
my
could
mom
like.
used to tell me all the
fight.
time that I have like soft hands and I've never worked a day in my life, and I'm just like, Mom, it's because I type for a living. But you tell me I got some calloused hands.
Your
It's probably
knuckles
from
are like
working out, I
very
guess.
strong and like hard looking. I would say Jacoby.
It's just a squid.
It's
just a tentacle.
A little softer.
Good read. I've never worked with my hands in my life. I am a soft human being. Soft human being.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to go to my Dominican brother, Carl Anthony Towns, and tell him, man, I don't care how many videos you watch. You're not taking on a gorilla, bro. You are definitely going to be the one that passes in that fight. You will not be the one that survives. You should find a different addiction. Should we find a different quote?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, our next quote. I don't know who the Browns tackle I'm going against is, but I'm going to kill him. And your choices are A, TJ Watt, B, JJ Watt, C, Calais Campbell, or D, Von Miller.
Well, I mean, don't we just have to look at the schedule on this one?
Yeah, I mean,
do
it's
believe
pretty
it's
clear.
it's a Broncos-Browns matchup, and so Von Miller seems to be the answer. Although I would love if it were Calais Campbell because he's got the greatest voice in all of football.
That's very true.
Yeah,
I know two of these people personally on this list. I could not see.
Sorry,
no, they're not my cousins. No, I feel like that's like a thing. Like people know people. Calais isn't the type of person to say that. Like he just isn't that person that's like, even though he's like, thank you. Even though I went to the University of Miami. I told you I went to the University of Miami. Like, yeah, Calais was an old head when I was there. He's just not, even though he's like a very vicious person, he's just like not the type of person to say that he wants to kill somebody.
Thank you.
Yeah, like he just has that voice, he's not a killer. Von Miller is a killer. Like
so all you have to say
was saying that with a very straight
face. I need more
face.
Christine being Calais Campbell. I need more.
All right, we're going with Von Miller. Von's the answer.
I don't know who the tackle is and I'm going against, but I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
That's good tape study right there. It's like I don't know who that is, but he's going down.
I'm gonna kill him.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. If someone looked at me very seriously and said, I'm gonna kill you, I wouldn't be as scared as if someone said it like that with a big smile. Like, I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna murder them. I'm gonna kill him.
He's going to kill him, and then he's going to do a two-pump sexual dance afterward after he sacks the quarterback.
That's like serial killer stuff.
Tell us more about the University of Miami people that you know, Christine.
It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I mean, like, don't look at what's happening this season on the football field, but just know it's great to be a Miami Hurricane.
Or last season,
Von Miller,
or the one before that.
Von Miller won me a Super Bowl. I worked for the Broncos the year in 2015 when they won. 2016.
Did you get a ring?
I did. It's actually right there.
You have a Super Bowl ring? Get the Super Bowl.
Would you like to see it?
Get the Super Bowl ring. Yeah, would I like to see it?
Of course.
Of course I want to see it.
I mean,
okay, this is me with my ring on.
Okay.
Wow.
And this is my ring. It has my name on it and everything.
I'm learning so much about you.
Wow. What position?
I was on that Broncos defense that season.
Well, thank you, Von Miller.
I'll wear this
You
the
got
rest
our
of
girl
the
a ring.
show.
That's pretty gangster, though.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I want to be your friend now. Except you got to.
I thought we were friends.
She already talked about all the friends that she has earlier, and then she dropped them.
We're about 33 minutes into our friendship. We'll see how this lasts.
Great.
What's the next quote?
All right, guys, we are moving on to another game.
Ooh, another game.
And the game is If Then. We'll give you a Mad Lib. You guys fill it out. The first one comes from Philadelphia, where the Ben Simmons drama is ongoing. After yesterday's meltdown, the 76ers still have no plans to trade him. Our question, if the 76ers aren't going to trade Ben Simmons at this time, then blank.
I'm going straight to Jacoby on this one because I haven't heard your opinion on this one.
If the 76ers aren't going to trade Ben Simmons at this time, then good for us. I love the chaos. I love the drama.
Really?
I love does he have a cell phone in his pocket at practice? Is he Doc asked him to do a drill and he wouldn't do it? Is he going to play? Does he have to go to the games? Like, is he going to go in street clothes to a game in Philadelphia? Like, I just can't imagine the environment. Like, there's a wrestling match being held in Philadelphia, and they had anti-Ben Simmons chants. It has nothing to do with the 76ers. It was a wrestling match. Like, this is brewing into a crazy, dramatic, like, I just want to watch the world burn, and Ben Simmons has a tank of gas and a match, and he also wants to watch the world burn. But one thing I always say is, your actions should support your goals. And if he wants to get traded, this is not the actions. Show up. Be a professional. Go to practice. Play in the games.
Shoot a jumper.
Bring your trade value up so Daryl Morey can then trade you. This is hustling all the way backwards. And I have to say, as someone who works in sports media, I love it.
I'd agree with that. But I feel like if the 76ers aren't going to trade Ben Simmons, then they do not value themselves. Because, okay, this just reminds me of like a really bad relationship. If a guy, first of all, doesn't perform well in like, well, that didn't sound right, but like in the playoffs.
Hey, playoff pressure, you know? It can spread to different areas of your life.
And then proceeds to tell you that they don't want to be in a relationship with you. And you're just like holding on for dear life. And like the phone thing, like the thing in the pocket, like, is it a cell phone or whatever? Like if on a date and somebody's like, on their cell phone and not paying attention to like what is happening in front of them, like why keep this going on? Like you have to, they need to move on. And I feel like they don't value themselves if they have Ben Simmons, like, because the conversation is all about Ben Simmons. That's all we're talking about. We're not even talking about the 76ers outside of Ben Simmons and what's going on. So I feel like they don't value themselves. Like, let's just get rid of him and like move on.
Yeah, if the Sixers aren't going to trade Ben, then I feel like everybody on that team, on the roster, including Joel Embiid, just need to stare at Daryl Morey until he gets uncomfortable. Just stare at him and be like, when are you going to make this move? I'll be more than happy to take a Darius Garland or whoever the heck the Pacers offered you. I'll be more than happy to do that. Just get us out of this nonsense, because like Joel Embiid's trying to recover from last year and win an MVP this year. He's trying to, make it to the finals and win a championship. Like, he had a disappointing finish, like the way that season started. If it wasn't for that injury of his, he probably would have won MVP, because the one difference between him and Nikola Jokic was, hey, the 10 or 15 games that he missed. Yep. So, yeah, I think he's got to be looking at this like, I don't care. Like he said, I'm over that dude. I just want to win a championship, and this is not helping. And so, like, I'm looking at him. He's got to be looking at Daryl Morey saying, hey, look, I can win with those guys from Indy. I can win with those guys over there. Let's just do something so I don't have this guy sulking in his sweatpants in the middle of our practice floor.
The Ramona Shelburne article was really interesting. I actually read the whole thing, which is rare for me. That's how good it was. And I will say this all comes back to Kawhi Leonard making that crazy bounce shot against them, because this duo does actually work together. They were the number one team in the Eastern Conference at the end of the regular season. They were in a Game 7 against the Hawks. Even if they win that Game 7 and lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Bucks, there's still this feeling like, yes, we're like one game away. We're only one or two pieces away. But now we are so far removed from those past successes that he literally won't practice with the team. And if you're Daryl Morey, you're like, well, I want to get 90 cents on the dollar. Daryl, you're going to get a quarter on this dollar. Like, you are going to get a dime on this dollar. Just get it done. Even when James Harden did this last year, he still played. I mean, he was partying with little baby, not going to practice, right, but he played in the games. Ben is not doing this right.
I was just about to say that photo, like, there's no recovery from that photo. You don't take shots in the fourth quarters of 4, 5, 6, and 7, and you have that photo. Trae Young, little Trae Young, looking like he's going to try to jump up and block your shot, and you're giving it up. Like, there's no recovery from that.
They should just
Matisse
move on.
Thybulle got fouled, and they got 1 point instead of 2 points. That wasn't the reason they lost the game, but it's a tough photo. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. As a mentally weak basketball player, as a very mentally weak basketball player, I can relate.
He's done.
You pass up layups, Jacoby?
All the time. Yeah, I'm terrified.
Left-handed ones particularly, right?
Yeah.
If you got to go with your left,
don't even know what that is.
Just
Can't do it. Can't do it. I've never shot a left-handed shot in my life.
You know what else is sad about this? Because if they would have made this trade in the offseason, because you still look at the projections for the Sixers, and they're just like, oh, maybe 6, 7 in the East. if they would have traded Ben Simmons in the offseason and had a piece or two that they could say, hey, that's a good fit with Joel, that's a good team around Joel, that's possibly the MVP right there, you'd be saying they're 3 or 4. Absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
You're probably getting a little too excited about the Miami Heat, I would say. You'd probably bump them up above the Miami Heat in a lot of people's expectations. So this is really killing sort of the vibe of this team. And so maybe they come in with lower expectations and surpass that, and maybe that gives them, something to feel good about. But, yeah, I think this team is better than what the projections are. But this is what's dragging them down in people's opinion.
This is it. Daryl Morey. Hi, Daryl. C.J. McCollum, Robert Covington, and like a future protected first. That's what it's going to come down to.
A couple swaps.
And that's what's going to come down to. And that's what it's going to be. And that's what it should be. Both teams say yes.
And by the way, C.J. McCollum, he'd be better not playing next to Damian Lillard. Because obviously Damian, that's not the type of backcourt that generally works,
Two duos.
I love that addition.
Two duos that are redundant. They're 4 great players, but they're 2 duos that are just mismatched. I think CJ McCollum will end up going to Philly, and it's going to end up making both teams better.
That'd be great for both.
Love that.
Any more if-thens?
It's time for our final topic.
Oh.
Okay.
We got some playoff baseball. If the Braves lose again tonight, then blank.
Well, the Braves, so let's set this up. So last year, the Braves went up, 3-1, 2-0, and then 3-1 against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers came storming back and won that series. This one, the Braves won the first 2 in walk-off fashion, and then we're in position up, 5-2 yesterday when, who was it? Cody Bellinger hit a 3-run home run. And I just wanted to read something about that home run, which was incredible because it was so unlikely, all right? It came off of Luke Jackson, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that was 4.12 feet off the ground, okay? No one since at least 2008 has homered on a pitch at that speed during the postseason at that position, that high, okay? And Bellinger had not homered on a pitch out of the strike zone the entire season, and he's been bad, right? Hitting under 200. And that unlikely home run goes out. That's the type of home run. That's the type of play. They eventually won the game. That's the type of play where it feels like momentum turns and the Dodgers are just back to where they were last year saying, oh, yeah, we can overcome this deficit against these guys.
Absolutely. If the Braves lose again tonight, then I will not be surprised. They literally don't know who's pitching, and it's like in 7 hours. Right. They're like, we don't know what we're going to do. Maybe we'll try him for a couple innings. Maybe we'll try him for a couple innings. And you mentioned all these games have been close, but what this sets up is a huge Game 5. I do not expect them to win because of this whole pitching situation, but if they lose 3 in a row and then go back to Atlanta, it is over.
I was going to say I will not be surprised either. And I feel like if we just look at Atlanta in general, this is the expectation. I feel like Georgia fans should just pay attention to Georgia football. If they lose tonight, just college football is happening. Pay attention to that because it's completely over for you guys, and you guys might as well just pay attention to something else at this point because it's not looking good.
Yeah, let's be real. The Dodgers, I feel like last year, they won. It was obviously one of those, the fans weren't really there for most of the season. It was kind of a weird deal. I think everybody wants to see Red Sox-Dodgers.
Yes.
They probably would want to see Yankees-Dodgers, but they definitely want to see Red Sox-Dodgers. And I feel like the Braves are just trying to spoil the party here. I think the Astros would be okay if that was, so the cheating situation. You could probably, have fun with that. But I feel like the Braves are the one, member that nobody really invited to this thing. And after those 2 walk-offs, I think people were a little nervous.
If the Braves win this series, not only do we not get Astros-Dodgers, the remix, not only do we not get Red Sox-Dodgers, sort of that history, but then we don't get any more Magic Johnson tweets. And what is the world? What is the world without post-game Magic Johnson tweets? I don't want to live that world. I don't want to live in that world. That's another
humble brag. Can I humble brag again? This is weird. I don't do this often. My friend tweets for Magic.
That's not true.
She's the one tweeting.
That's not true. That's not true.
Yes, she is.
She's the funniest human being on the face of the planet.
Wait, but she's not trying to be funny. She's just trying to be very simple and straightforward.
Does he call it in and then she just tweets it as plain as possible? How does that work?
She doesn't want it to seem she doesn't want to get him in any trouble. So everything is just straightforward to the point, very matter of fact.
No
that's
kidding.
Why the tweets are like that, because she's tweeting for him and she's just hey, this is what's happening. I'm very happy about it. Yay. It's just very straightforward so that she doesn't get in trouble for saying anything weird.
I have a lot of follow-up questions. This might go until like tomorrow. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Does Magic approve the tweets? Does Magic call in the tweets? Does she use his voice?
Yes. So even like if like say him and Cookie are like on a vacation, like he'll send pictures and be like, hey, like this is what I would like you to say. And then she just kind of says it like very matter-of-factly, like we're having a great time in France. And then it's pictures. Like it's not like they want no controversy. So it's just like just say a sentence and then keep it moving.
Instagram
they want
as
no
well.
controversy, but yet they've come up with the most talked about Twitter profile.
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody's like, why does he tweet like this? Like he's not like, okay, Magic, we saw what happened. Like, yeah.
Christine, you said that you don't do this. Like you swore that you don't do this,
amazing.
but it's like 15 minutes and you've like dropped 3 bombs on us right there. Like that seems to be
feel
kind
like
of a thing that
I don't know how
name-droppers
this
do.
happened.
This
really
is
don't.
absolutely amazing. So, but once the tweets get all of this attention, did she feel like maybe she should switch up her approach?
I don't feel like she really pays attention to the attention that they get. She's just like kind of like whatever.
Wow.
Does she do Instagram too?
She does his Instagram, but I feel like the Twitter is her main thing. She does his Instagram sometimes, but Twitter is her main thing.
One more question.
It's like the PR.
Whatever,
she's like the PR person.
Is it L. Duncan?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
I knew it. I knew it.
All right, this was Irvin's tweet after this game. Bellinger had a big 3-run. I'm sorry, not Irvin's tweet. Christine's friend's tweet. Bellinger had a big 3-run homer. Mookie had the game-winning hit, and Kenley Jansen came in to close out. This sounds like an AP story. Came out to close out the game with a 1-2-3 ninth inning to seal the victory for the Dodgers! ! I feel bad for any Dodgers fan that left early because they've missed a great comeback by the Dodgers.
I feel like we need to add like, it's also Tuesday. Like that's the sort of level of detail to get. It's Tuesday. It was 64 degrees and cloudy. Like, okay.
I feel like it was the same amount of effort that was put into deciding where Jacoby's going to sit today. It's like, let's just put him in front of a construction scene in New York City. Everything looks great back there. It's perfect.
All right,
Oh my gosh, I love it.
How did you get this job?
I have so many questions.
Right? How did she get this job?
So she is like, she's like, does PR. So we both went to Clemson together. And then she went to go work for the Washington football team. And then she went to go work for Magic because she's like always been in the PR space. So she like does a lot of his like appearances and stuff like that. If he's going to go like be on First Take or something, like she handles that kind of stuff too. But like she also handles his socials.
That's got to be the easy part of the job, right? The social.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've got another Magic Johnson name drop tie-in. My wife was supposed to go on that vacation with the Johnsons on a yacht in the Mediterranean.
Oh my gosh.
However, I got COVID, a breakthrough case, and she couldn't go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a boat
That
drop,
sucks.
I think. It's not even a name
That
drop.
is a
Would
boat
you have
drop.
been on Below Deck Mediterranean like Jamel or no?
No, it was very clear that I was not invited. My wife was invited. Oh, I'm sorry.
Was she
I'm
invited
sorry.
to his birthday party?
Made that clear.
Was she invited to his
clear.
birthday party like 2 years ago or a year ago? Whenever that like big, huge party happened when like everybody was there?
Don't try to deflect from the fact that your friend in your phone that you went to college with is behind the most talked about Twitter feed in sports.
I actually need to talk to her about
This
this.
is
I've never
amazing.
talked to her about that. Like I should probably ask her like what she thinks about it. I've never asked her.
You
I've just always
shouldn't ask her what she thinks about it. Let
She
me
should
make
go
you
on
some
talk
money.
shows.
Just pitch it as like a 6,000 word profile for .com.
That's true.
This is like
That's
a 30
true.
for
I
30.
should do
This
that.
isn't like,
I
hey,
should
maybe I
do
should bring it up. This is a full-on 30 for 30 series. Like not like a 30 for 30. This is like a Last Dance style behind
This is
Magic
clearly-
Johnson's social
yes.
media presence.
What if I told you
The first
that
highlight
Magic
of this
Johnson
Debatable show
didn't tweet
was
it?
this revelation. Like this is the biggest thing that's happened on Debatable so far.
That's
Thank
actually
you.
hilarious. That's
What a
hilarious.
moment. What a moment we've shared. I think this is
What
a
if I
wrap.
told you exactly what happened last night?
In a very plain voice.
And that's
with
just
no
very
personality of
straightforward.
the
For 30 tag.
Oh, that's
This is
amazing.
amazing. What a job. What a
Yeah, I know.
job. Oh,
But I
Christine,
mean-
I've learned so much about you. Get the Super Bowl ring.
This is
Look at the
apparently a
Super
countdown
Bowl
that is
ring.
over.
Oh, she's got a Super Bowl ring, and she knows who tweets for Magic Johnson. What a woman.
She's
That you
friends
can
with
see on
Elaine
Hoop Streams
Campbell.
tonight. You can see on Hoop Streams tonight with David.
Hey,
Jacoby
should I wear
and
my ring on
Cassie.
Hoop Streams tonight? No, that'd be
Yes,
weird.
please.
Izzy, don't go on scooters anymore, man.
Yeah, please be
Never-
careful.
never
Just
again.
be careful.
Never again. I'm too pretty for that.
Yeah, that's true.
See you guys.
It's been fun. Confetti!
Don't forget.
Look at the
Wow, that's really
budget on this
fancy.
show.
Why didn't
Really?
we
I
get
just kinda
confetti?
You got a confetti budget.
I just target in on that fourth square half the time. Sometimes I just fade away into nothing. No, I see you guys.